From the dark ore of mountain mines to the heart of atomic energy, uranium's story is a mirror of human ambition, a tale of discovery, danger, and power. Few elements have shaped modern history as profoundly as uranium. How did a heavy, obscure metal hidden in rock become the fuel of empires, the trigger of wars, and the promise or threat of the future? Our journey begins in the rugged hills of Bohemia, late 18th century. In 1789, German chemist Martin Heinrich Klaproth was analyzing a black mineral called pitchblende from the Joachimsthal silver mines. When he treated it with acid and heat, a new yellowish substance appeared, a metal no one had seen before. He named it uranium, in honor of the recently discovered planet Uranus. But long before Klaproth, miners in that same region had unknowingly handled uranium ores for centuries. In the 1500s, the pitchblende from the ore mountains was mined, not for science but for its striking colors. Used to tint glass and pottery, they were, without realizing it, shaping the prelude to one of the most consequential elements in history. Throughout the 19th century, uranium remained a curiosity of chemistry and art. European glassmakers prized it for its luminous yellow-green glow, producing what collectors now call Vaseline glass. Scientists examined its density, its curious heaviness, and its vivid color, but none could yet explain its hidden power. In the American West, during the late 1800s, prospectors in Colorado and Utah mined uranium-bearing carnotite ores to extract radium, then believed to be a miracle element. Thanks to Marie and Pierre Curie's research, uranium itself was treated as a waste product, dumped aside in search of radium's far smaller traces. But in 1896, French physicist Henri Becquerel accidentally made one of science's great discoveries. A piece of uranium salt wrapped in black paper formed a photographic plate without sunlight. He had discovered radioactivity. Within a few years, scientists realized that uranium atoms were unstable. They released invisible rays as they decayed. This revelation changed not only physics, but human destiny. For decades, the implications of radioactivity were scientific rather than practical. Early 20th century labs used uranium salts to study the nature of matter. Ernest Rutherford and his colleagues mapped the structure of the atom through experiments with uranium radiation. But in 1938, a breakthrough in Berlin transformed uranium from a scientific tool into something far more powerful. Chemists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann bombarded uranium with neutrons and observed that it split apart, releasing vast energy. Nuclear fission. Lisa Meitner and Otto Frisch, working in exile, explained what had happened. The uranium nucleus had divided, releasing energy equivalent to millions of chemical reactions. The atomic age had begun quietly in a laboratory. Within months, physicists around the world realized what this meant. If a chain reaction could be sustained, that energy could be unleashed for either peaceful energy or unimaginable destruction. As World War II erupted, uranium became not just a scientific material, but a weapon of war. The race to harness atomic power began. In 1939, Albert Einstein and physicist Leo Szilard warned the US government that Nazi Germany might be working on an atomic bomb. This led to the Manhattan Project, a vast secret program spanning the deserts of New Mexico to the factories of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Thousands of scientists, engineers, and laborers worked to enrich uranium into a more fissile form, uranium-235. It was this isotope that, when bombarded with neutrons, could release a chain reaction capable of destroying a city. In August 1945, the uranium-based bomb nicknamed Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan, instantly demonstrating both the promise and horror of atomic energy. That moment changed the course of human history. Uranium had gone from decorative glaze to weapon of mass destruction in less than half a century. The post-war world entered what came to be called the atomic age. Uranium was now a strategic commodity. In the United States, a government-backed uranium rush swept across the deserts of Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico in the 1950s. Prospectors staked claims. Geiger counters in hand, chasing fortunes promised by federal purchase programs, mining towns sprang up almost overnight, and with them came both economic hope and devastating health consequences. Navajo miners, often working without protective gear, extracted tons of ore for the government, only to face radiation-related illnesses decades later. The same pattern echoed globally, from the Belgian Congo to Australia and Kazakhstan, where uranium became a Cold War currency. Access to uranium deposits determined influence. The Soviet Union and the West competed, not only for missiles and reactors but for the ore that made them possible. While uranium defined military power, it also offered an unprecedented energy source. In the 1950s and 1960s, nuclear reactors promised to transform the world's electricity supply. A small amount of uranium could produce vast power. Without the smoke of coal or the volatility of oil, nations invested heavily in atomic energy programs, building civilian reactors from Britain to Japan to the United States. The slogan "Atoms for Peace," introduced by President Eisenhower, sought to rebrand nuclear power as a force for progress rather than fear. Yet as the decades unfolded, that optimism met reality. Accidents like 3 Mile Island in 1979 and Chernobyl in 1986 revealed the dangers of mismanaged uranium energy. The same element that lit cities could also contaminate them for generations. Environmental activism rose sharply, questioning whether humanity could ever truly control such a potent force. Beyond energy and weapons, uranium reshaped international politics. The Cold War balance of terror depended on enriched uranium stockpiles. Treaties like the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1968 sought to prevent new nations from acquiring nuclear weapons. Uranium, once a mineral curiosity, was now a symbol of sovereignty. Even today, debates over Iran's and North Korea's enrichment programs center not on the bomb itself but on uranium's dual-use nature. It can power cities or destroy them. Economically, the uranium market cycles between booms and busts. When nuclear energy expands, demand surges. When disasters strike or public opinion shifts, prices collapse. Canada, Australia, Kazakhstan, and Namibia now supply most of the world's uranium, while nations like France and the United States rely on it to fuel reactors that together generate nearly 10% of global electricity. But uranium's influence reaches deeper than economics or energy. It has transformed how humanity thinks about matter itself, about the energy locked within every atom. Its discovery forced scientists to confront the immense power hidden in nature's smallest structures. Its use forced societies to confront moral questions. Should knowledge without restraint be pursued? Should one element hold the power to end civilization? These are not merely scientific debates but ethical legacies, carried forward from that first shimmering piece of pitchblende in Bohemia. Culturally, uranium left its mark on art, literature, and imagination. The atomic age inspired architecture, films, propaganda, even fashion, all reflections of a world both fascinated and frightened by invisible energy. In communities that mined it, uranium became both livelihood and curse, remembered through scars in the land and in the lungs of miners. Today, as the planet faces climate change, uranium once again stands at the center of debate. Advocates call nuclear power a clean, reliable source of low-carbon energy. Critics warn of waste, accidents, and proliferation. The element remains a paradox, a potential savior in the fight against global warming, yet burdened by its violent past. Scientists continue to refine reactor technologies and seek safer waste management, while historians trace how one element came to symbolize the modern condition. Boundless progress shadowed by existential risk. The legacy of uranium is not only the bomb or the reactor, but the moral awareness it forced upon humanity, that in mastering nature's secrets, we inherit the responsibility to control them. Uranium's journey spans continents and centuries, mined unknowingly in medieval Europe, identified in Enlightenment laboratories, transformed into a weapon in the 20th century, and debated as an energy source in the 21st. It has altered the course of war, science, and industry, influencing geopolitics from the Cold War to the present energy crisis. It is both the most feared and most coveted element on Earth. The historical takeaway is clear. Materials are never never neutral. They shape the destiny of nations. Uranium's story reminds us that every discovery carries a shadow, and that power, once uncovered, can never be fully buried again. If you found this journey insightful, subscribe for more deeply researched stories where science and history converge.